And so this is what we've done. And so it's good today because now we know the opponent on Saturday and it's closer. And so we start our preparation for that.
Jeff, have you talked to your guys about the possibility with still several games to be rescheduled that, you're talking about these long lulls, but a possibility of several games being back to back on top of each other and what that preparation might be if you get there?
Yeah, we've talked about it. I mean, we've talked about everything. Once we knew that we were not going to play Georgia Tech, I mean, we were trying to find another game to play. We were trying to schedule. We were actively out pursuing other people to play in different conferences. And so, I just think you're going to have to be creative. I think day to day, week to week, we know what the rest of the schedule is, but I think it's a crapshoot if you get to all the games.
Jeff, you mentioned the long layoff, and obviously Terrell had a really nice game last time out against Syracuse. How do you get him to kind of continue that a week later?
Well, hopefully, we can start to see some consistency from all of our guys being consistently good. Terrell did some really good things for us, and he was able to close the game, out there for us. And he's had some success against Syracuse's zone in the past couple of years. And so hopefully, he can play well on Saturday, and all of our guys play well. But he's had a great attitude all year. He really, really has. And I'm very pleased with where he is.
Jeff, we've talked some about kind of the stop and start nature of this season. How is someone like Nike sort of handled that, where he gets declared eligible on the 16th? He plays that game. He plays against Louisville, and then obviously didn't play in the first game against Q's. How has he seemed to be handling all of this? Because I would imagine that would have to be pretty tough for him.
It's tough. It's tough. I mean, you think about it. He found out, I think it was 55 minutes before the game against Miami, that rule went into effect where those guys were cleared. And you play that game, and then you come back, I think 6 days later, and you play Louisville. He's played 2 games. He has to go into contact tracing because of someone else in a different program. And he's out, and not just out, like he can't practice. Like he's in an apartment by himself. And so it's difficult. I mean, it's really difficult for him. But again, it's been great having him back in practice. It's usually a challenge for a new guy against Syracuse because it's a different type of zone than you're used to playing against. And but he'll get an opportunity, and I think he'll be ready.
Jeff, do you think your depth has helped with practices, like comparison to the last couple of years? Would you have been able to have the type of practices that you have now?
Probably not. We certainly have more depth. When we were able to be whole, when we have everyone, you're able to do that. For Syracuse, the first time we were not. I mean, we I think had 11 guys there at practice, and so you got to be really careful, about stuff that you do. It's really interesting because we had all those days where we just had those guys, and now all of a sudden you get these guys back, and it's like, wow, like it got used to how it was, and now trying to get reacclimated to all these guys back.
Jeff, is your increased depth one of the reasons that you've been able to play so well on defense so far?
I think depth helps. I think experience helps even more. We're older, and so the guys know the defense. Xavier, Audice, Terrell, when Justin was like Justin, even like a Kareem who's been here, that's kind of the core of our group. And then when you add, these new guys, they're talented, they're long and they're athletic. But then we also, as a coaching staff, have some older guys that teach, that can help them with what it is exactly we're trying to accomplish.
Jeff, go ahead.
I was going to say, Coach, on that note, usually the young guys, you always say by the time they get the ACC play by January, they're no longer freshmen. Well, this year they kind of are. They haven't played a lot of games. Talk about how much they've developed with all these adversities in front of them.
Yeah, I mean, this year has been a challenge for everyone nationally because it's been so disjointed and it's so different from the way you normally go about, your team building stuff, how you teach, and things like that. I mean, for us, and I'm not speaking for any other coach, I imagine they're going through something similar or the same thing. You're kind of looking every day of okay, who can I have? Like, who do I have? You're waiting on a test result, to see. And so that makes it challenging. But again, our guys have had really good attitudes. They really have. They've worked. And hopefully we're able to play as many games as we have on the rest of our schedule.
Jeff, last game against Syracuse was another game where you guys had some struggles in the first half, but really had an outstanding second half. I'm curious where your head's at as the coach, where, are you more concerned with those slow starts in the first, or are you more encouraged of, wow, we can kind of come back in any instance like you've shown a few times this season?
Yeah, more concerned. We have to get off to better starts. We have to be better to start the game. One of the things that could really help that is if Xavier doesn't get in foul trouble. I don't think it's any coincidence in that first half against Syracuse, he picked up 2 fouls and we had 1 assist. We had 18 points in the first half. He plays the second half and I think we had 11 assists or 12 assists and we had 45 points. And so, when you don't have your point guard out there, that can make things difficult for you. And knock on wood, he's played at a high level. So that certainly is something that could help us, having him out there.
Jeff, in that game, we had talked before about how Xavier got into foul trouble, and sometimes he was, running into a charge. But in that game, there was especially one of the calls where he was on the sideline and he pinned a guy to the corner. And when they called the foul on him, you kind of had a not so positive reaction. It seemed like you disagree with the call, as did the announcers in the game. How would have been your conversation with Xavier, even in situations like that, where it's not necessarily he's playing into anything, it's just he's dealing with maybe a rough situation there?
Yeah, I mean, you're at the mercy of what the official calls. And, just like us, we make mistakes. I don't make the right calls all the time. There are substitution patterns and things like that. Sometimes that happens. And so you just have to adjust. I mean, there are other plays where he's reaching, where he's doing some things that put him in that position. And so, that's what we talk about, just trying to eliminate those plays where it's obvious. His first foul was obvious. Those are the ones that you have to try to eliminate.
Jeff, we asked you a few weeks ago about what you kind of felt about the ACC this year. And, a lot of people are saying it's more wide open than it normally has. So, maybe after 10 games for everyone, where do you kind of see the league where it stands right now?
I think the league is good. At least I haven't seen, there hasn't been like we've had in the past, like maybe that 1 or 2, my first year here, we had 3 dominant teams. I haven't seen anyone that's been dominant like that. And you kind of anticipated that with what the league lost. If you look at the players that we lost, you anticipated that. But I think it's incredibly competitive. You have, a team like Wake Forest that led Virginia, at the half, the first time that they played. And so I think still on any given night, anyone can beat anyone.
Jeff, we've talked with you some previously about sort of the conflicted feelings of playing this season, and you said that you don't think that we should be playing. I was curious, when you've talked with other coaches, I know the season can be busy, so I don't know how much you've been in communication with others, but does it seem like many other people share that view or kind of share that perspective?
It's hard for me to answer because I don't talk to a lot of people in the profession. I have some friends that I talk to and people that I talk to, but it's not like I'm out like polling everyone trying to get their opinion. I know how I feel. And I think I don't want it to come across that I don't think we should have started or I don't think we shouldn't play this season. I've never said that. I think it should be paused just right now. I think it was good that we started. But when you look at these numbers across the country and what's going on with COVID, I just thought that there was a period you should adjust. I mean, last Wednesday when we played, that was the day that everything happened at the Capitol, that chaos broke, in our country. And rightfully so, there was so much attention on that. But then that night you look and there were more deaths from COVID on that day than there were at any point in time. And I think since that time, you've had like 3 or 4 more days where it's been that. And that's what I'm saying. I just think that you should look at some different things. But again, I'm not the expert, so I'm just giving you my opinion.
Jeff, sorry, go ahead, Craig.
Jeff, do you think that we're still kind of in that period now?
I think we are, but nothing's going to happen. I mean, we're going to play. But yeah, I think we are. I mean, when you look at these, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And again, when I listen to what the experts say, they're telling you not to travel. They're telling you not to be in law, do these things. And so, again, and these aren't professional athletes. That's a completely different thing, in my opinion. These aren't, or we say there aren't professional athletes. So yeah, I think we are still in it.
Well, Jeff, kind of on that topic, I guess the Division I Council postponed the vote for name, image, and likeness rules, but there's still on a mandate to make a plan for change by next January, which means that these kids that you're recruiting in the upcoming class, this is going to impact them their freshman year, but you and them don't have any idea how it's going to work still at this point. How frustrating is that? And maybe when you've been talking to kids and parents, what's that perspective been like trying to deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I haven't really talked about it a lot, to be completely honest with you, in recruiting. If they bring it up, we talk about it and talk about, I tried to explain to them my kind of perception of how it could work. But it is difficult because you don't know. You don't know exactly how it's going to work. And so I don't know. I mean, I try not to worry about things I can't control, man. I haven't, as my dad used to say, I have enough on my plate to say grace over, to worry about all this other stuff. I'm trying to figure out how, man, we can not go down 18 again, play a lot better. We had a good second half and a good rally, but we were getting our butts kicked. And I'm trying to figure out how we can play a lot better, because we're going to have to play a lot better this time against them. Last year when we played at Syracuse, it was very similar. We got up to a very poor start, got going in the second half, scored points, got back in the game. And if you think about it, we lost that game. It was a 2-point game, and it was it was about a minute and a half left. And we had all the momentum, and we played good defense, but I think it was Guerrier that got an offensive rebound and scored it. And that's the difference. This time we got that stop, we got that rebound, and then we were able to come down and get an offensive rebound. But we thought, okay, well, we got the zone figured out because we score points and things like that in the second half, and they came in here and kicked our butt. And so that's what I'm worried about. Like, how can we be better? Because I know they're going to be better. They're going to make adjustments. And, can we have to be on edge. That's the thing I've learned about our team. We have to be on edge. And how do we get that edge back when we haven't played in a while? That's really concerning to me. So is that it? All right. See you guys. Thanks.